the common myth that I hear a lot is to be on a telesales, so you have to be locked in front of your computer from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. Is that true, Bearcat?
No, that's not true. Um,
Really? Welcome, guys, back to the insurance panel. We have a very special guest. He is just waking up. He actually lives in California. Believe it or not, name is Bearcat. Coolest name in the industry. Never heard of him. Welcome, Bearcat, to the insurance panel, man. We're so happy that you came on and giving us a chance to talk to you, man, because really what we wanted to talk about is the life of an everyday final expense telesales agent, independent final expense telesales agent. And Nick knew you, and he's
Yep.
like, I know this guy. He used to work over where I'm working at and was successful in the field, transitioned to telesales about 15 months ago, a year and a half ago. I can't remember how long we said, but you were successful then and you're successful now. So with everything going on, we just wanted to ask you some questions, just talk about your experience and how telesales is for you, because for sure there's going to be a lot of people watching, and for you to be able to do this, it's super awesome of me, man.
oh, well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I've done both. I did maybe 3 years in the field, I think. And then, like you were saying, about 15 months ago, I transitioned over to telesales.
Yeah.
And it's worked for me. I was fortunate. I think the group that I'm with, they were just getting started. And I don't know before that if there were any truly independent telesales opportunities. I think,
Right.
as far as I know, you had to be basically captive with the company or
Yeah, you got to be like a call center kind of.
yeah. And then I think that Ramiz guy,
Mhm.
that's basically captive. I don't
Yeah.
know. But anyways, if you wanted to be independent and have multiple different carriers that you could offer to people, I don't think there were a lot of options.
I think the first question is, and this is always the question, and we kind of talked about it offline, why did you go to telesales? Was it because it's a tough market? Was it because you did a lot of drive time? Because what I hear in California, you're basically 2 hours away from everything.
Yeah. So the reason that I switched, for where I live in Northern California, it took me a minimum 90 minutes to get to an area that's final expense people. And I can deal with that. Um, and I had to do a lot of door knocking. So when I was face to face, I'd call all my direct mail leads, try to set an appointment, and if I couldn't set the appointment, I go door knock. I think that's pretty much what everybody does, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And I couldn't meet my sales goals that I had for me to pay the bills. I couldn't meet that just 2 days in the field, so I'd have to go out 4 days a week in the field with a lot of door knocking in
Sure.
those times. And for whatever reason, people say it's a tough market. Maybe I'm not that good at sales. I don't know. Whatever reason, I had to bust my butt to meet my goals. And I wasn't good at getting in the door when I did door knock. So then the where I'm at now, I came across that opportunity, decided to give it a shot. And because I was working so much in the field when I was face to face, I really didn't have the time flexibility. That's one of the great reasons of selling insurance, right? You sell insurance because you're independent and set your own schedule.
That's
And I
right.
was kind of I felt like I didn't have that, so I switched.
Got it.
And Bearcat's a little bit modest. He was he's saying he had to go out 4 days a week and he had to work really hard, and he was producing, man. I know what Bearcat was producing when he was a field agent, and he was doing well. He was making carrier conventions. He was a solid agent. Maybe not where he wanted to be. And yeah, his market is a little tougher because it's further. You got to go far to get to the people that are our people. But he knew what he was doing, and he was. I don't want him to downplay himself so much. Mostly because you really did. You were a very good field agent.
Thank you.
And but you're also when I knew that I was going to be locked up at home because they started canceling schools, and my family decided we were going to self-quarantine before it was mandatory. Um, you were the first person I called. I didn't call Remiz, I didn't call Jeff Root, I didn't call any of these other people, because you're actually on the ground doing stuff.
Yeah.
You're selling. And realistically, there's just not that many people out there talking to people about doing telesales that are still actually selling on a regular basis. And there are even fewer people out there doing telesales that are not actively trying to recruit you into their own system. And so I think that it's a really good opportunity to. We've been asked a lot, just like, what's a day in the life of like a telesales agent? What does a normal day look like for somebody who's actually good at this and doing this regularly and experienced? And so I thought having you on as an actual producer, somebody who produced before telesales, somebody who's producing as a telesales agent, is a unique opportunity that not a lot of people have.
Yeah, the common myth that I hear a lot is to be on a telesales, so you have to be locked in front of your computer from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. Is that true, Bearcat?
No, that's not true.
Really?
But you do have to commit to making phone calls every day. And I can tell you for a fact that there are lots of people in the, my IMO, new agents, medium agents, that get leads and don't call them, which it just blows my mind, right?
That's crazy.
But I'm sure you see this face to face. People spend a bunch of money on a DM lead and they call it once and throw it away and like, I can't make any sales.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. That's the same issue.
Yeah.
So you have to be committed to picking up the phone and making calls. So I generally have between 80 and 100 leads in that I call every day, right? The people that I can call, and I call everyone 6 times. So I'll call them twice when I get a new lead, twice in the same day, unless that lead comes in really late, and then once a day afterwards for 6 times total. Some people call more. It's just the return on time after you call someone 6 times and they'll pick up the phone. It really just falls greatly, and you're better off just spending money on new leads, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How are you managing all of that? Are you using a particular CRM, or are you just kind of checking off notes on a piece of paper, or what are you doing?
Oh, you have to have a CRM, and the one that I use is proprietary to the IMO that I'm with.
Okay,
got it.
Well,
but having a CRM, yeah.
But I can tell you. Oh, let me just finish that.
Yeah.
I can tell you I know other guys that are really good at telesales. They use one CRM that I know is used is VanillaSoft, I think it's called, which I don't use it, but guys that make money use it. So
good to know.
It's kind of expensive, I think.
It seems to be. Yeah, I looked into it, and I know we did have Jeff Root on the show a couple of weeks ago at this point. He mentioned that, and Go High Level also is another one. I think you've been playing around with Go High Level, right, Matt?
Yeah. Go High Level is actually really awesome, and it can do all those things about like making sure the new lead like gets to the top of the queue, and then like what Jeff was talking about, because I went in there, like studied it, and then after you call that person, it'll kick it back to call like 3 hours later or 6 hours later or whatever you want. And then, but new leads always up front, and it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. So daily routine. I think you need at least 20 leads a day to make it work.
Okay.
You're not paying, don't pay $30 a lead like you do for a DM lead, obviously.
Right.
It's a little higher lead volume. So get at least 20 leads a day. Have 70 to 100 people in your call queue that need to be called before they've been either sold or said no or didn't answer the phone. It'll work through it. If I call someone in the morning on Monday and they don't answer, then I'll try and call them in the afternoon the next day and just kind of switch back and forth and hopefully catch them. Although, frankly, that probably doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. Well, especially now, everybody's home. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. I know one problem Nick has been having. I don't know if this is more of a day in the life, but you were talking about it. I was like, hit record because this is good stuff.
Yeah.
Nick, when you make a sale on your telesales currently, it's taking you like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah, all in, like not total talk time, not just presentation time, but from the time that they say hello to the time that I am able to start dialing the next person because I've wrapped up everything that I need to do. It's like an hour 45, 2 hours. Which when I mentioned that to Bearcat before we started recording, his eyes bugged out of his head. So it's, I mean, for me, it's a really long process. I'm finding that the presentation is taking longer, and that might be me. I mean, that might be in my own head, but like I'm finding that in order to get them to a yes, I have to kind of go through my regular presentation almost twice. Like basically what I've started doing, because I mean, when I first started this, I was not very good at it, and I'm still not great at it. But you know, I would go through my regular presentation basically normally, and then instead of trying to, and then I would get a whole bunch of I got to think about it, or they'd hang up on me. I sent a couple of recordings to some people, and they said, you know, basically, you're not spending enough time building trust. You're doing all this face-to-face stuff that doesn't work really well over the phone. You got to expand on it and show your expertise more and blah, 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 right? They mostly told me you've got to spend at least an hour on the phone with a person before you even quote them. 45 minutes to an hour before you even quote. I can't do that.
Wow.
That's actually way too long. I can't physically make myself spend that much time before I get to a quote.
Well, let me just interrupt here, though. That is a long time.
Yeah.
For me, because I can't talk for that long. I'm just not a big talker. But if you can keep someone on the phone for an hour before you move on to completing the application, bravo, man. You're doing something right there for sure.
So it ends up being like I go through my regular presentation forward, and then I go through it again. Like then I try to get them to talk to me a little bit, and then I go through it again backwards. Essentially, and I just re-hit all the same information twice. Then I quote them, and then we talk about why the company is an awesome company, and then I answer any questions that they have, and they usually have a lot of questions. And then we do a telephone interview, and the PHIs are taking like half hour, 35 minutes. And some of that is just all of these call centers are slammed, so it's usually a wait to get somebody on the phone to do a PHI. And then I need to like talk to them for 10 or 15 minutes after the call to reassure them that everything is legit.
Yep.
and then I have some paperwork that I send out to folks. I send them a little that I usually try and write up during the PHI, but I still got to print it and get it stuffed in envelopes and get a stamp on it and out to the mailbox. And when everything's said and done, it's about 2 hours. Which is, I mean, it kills my day. Like if I make 2 sales in a day, that's 4 hours out of my day already done.
Yeah, that's a lot of time. Wow.
Yeah, no, there's got to be a better way, right? So.
Yeah, so it takes me about an hour to do everything soup to nuts. That being said, I'm still, as far as the sales, and nothing is set in stone. Everything is dynamic, and you have to evolve, right? Mm-hmm. So there's definitely holes in my presentation. I should make it longer. My style is I'd rather just be committed to putting in the work every single day, make dials, buy leads. Okay. Mm-hmm. I should be a better salesperson. But I keep my presentation short. I probably lose sales that other people would get, but that's my system. As long as I'm making a return on the money that I put into the leads, then
that's all that matters.
What I do. Right.
And I will say, by the same token, I'm getting about half the leads per day that you're getting. Okay. But still, I would love to be getting 20 leads a day. I just haven't managed to get my ad to. I mean, I haven't managed to get it to produce that much yet.
You know,
well, no. I've split off a new ad, so I'm going to start running multiple ads.
Right. So that leads into another, and I don't know if you guys want to talk about it or not, but that's really the biggest difference between face to face and being independent over the phone is your leads.
Sure.
Right? Nick, the group that you're with, that I was with, in my opinion, is one of the best IMOs out there for face-to-face sales. And they had a lead system that was set up. They had a training system that was set up, and everything just worked the system and do it, and you didn't have to worry about anything.
Mm-hmm. Which is the nice thing about that. You just get in, you plug in, you're done.
Yeah. That's not the case if you're going to be an independent over the phone, right? Mm-hmm. So the leads that I use have changed several times from just over a year ago when I started. I'm constantly on the lookout, researching trying to make sure I've got another place to think about getting leads from where I do now, right? And that's always the same. And even my IMO provides leads. Those change all the time too. And then that's your job as an IMO, is to provide leads to your agents, right? So they're doing the same thing. I'm a little bit different, and I self-generate most of the leads that I work. But there's top guys in the group that I work with. They buy all their leads. They buy all their leads from the IMO, and they do great. But that's the part that's more dynamic if you're going to do independent face-to-face.
Yeah, we did a video very recently that's actually going very well about literally producing or learning how to produce your own leads for two reasons. One, you can keep your lead costs down if you know how to do it correctly, but two, you won't get wooed by these vendors that are telling you they're the best leads in the world, and you go look up their lead and it's like the worst lead you've ever seen, and they want you to pay $15-20 a pop for these leads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
So a word on the lead cost.
Yeah.
I generate my own leads just because it's something that I wanted to do personally, and I feel some security. I'm not beholden to anybody. Okay, and that's the freedom that it gives me. The cost, first of all, it cost me a ton of money to learn how to do it, and then secondly, my lead cost is really the same as what I could buy a lead from my MO from. There's not a big difference there.
That being said,
I know exactly what it says on the lead. I know exactly what it says on the lead.
That's the point.
Okay? And I know it's not being resold to anybody else, which I'm not saying my MO would, but if you're buying leads, that's always a concern, right?
Sure.
I just feel better that way. But cost-wise, it's not like I'm getting leads for $1 a lead. That's not the fact. That's not the case.
No. But you are getting a higher quality lead than I know most lead vendors will sell you. Because I know I know what your ad says, and it's a better. You're going to get a better prospect based on what you're running than what a lot of these people run, which is basically. I mean, most of these lead vendors, I took way back when you were still doing face-to-face, I took the course from the guy that is one of the major suppliers to a lot of these vendors.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Leads, right? And so I know exactly what he tells people. I mean, unless he's changed dramatically, I know exactly what he was telling people to say on his lead. And those leads are deceptive at best.
Right.
Those are not strong leads. And yeah, you might be able to generate those for $3 a pop. And if you get a flood of leads at $3 a pop, you're going to make money. If you're spending $100 a day on $3 leads, you're going to make money. But that's a slog. I'd rather have a better lead and spend a little bit more and get a few.
And also, it's not only it's a slog, it's just mentally. Let me talk about the mental aspect of face-to-face versus telesales. Okay, if you're in the field and you set an appointment and the people are home, you have a really high probability of making a sale, right?
Absolutely.
And it kind of sucks to get rejected when you're in someone's home and you go through your presentation and you don't get the sale. That kind of sucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing telesales, if you sold 3 out of 100 leads, you're making money. You're not making great money, but you're making money. So just think you get rejected 97 times.
Right.
So you have to be tough on that part. And then if you're dialing people that responded to that deceptive lead that you bought, that's really cheap,
they're going to fill out others.
They're gonna. It's a negative feeling when they actually find out what you're trying to do. Whereas if you work a lead that says it's insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says exactly what it is. You'll get no's, but the conversation is much more pleasant with the prospect, and it's just easy to deal with, like, mentally for me.
Yeah, you get a lot less beat up.
Yeah.
And I know I'm seeing that, just the difference between running the Facebook leads that I'm running that say whole life insurance on it versus calling my old direct mail leads that I'm still got them coming in. Direct mail comes in forever.
Right.
So I'm still getting direct mail trailing in. It's a much more difficult conversation with those direct mail people because it's less fresh on their mind. The lead I'm running doesn't say life insurance.
Right.
I don't have all of the in-person tricks that I use to kind of settle people down. And, get them on board with me. I can't do a lot of that stuff. I have to do it just with my voice, and it's a trickier prospect to do that sort of thing. So it's nice to have the cards stacked in your favor, especially over the phone, having a good quality lead.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's good stuff. One thing I wanted to ask, to keep your, I wouldn't say lead costs low or acquisition costs low, how many licenses do you hold across the states?
I have 32, and I'm going to let a lot of those go when it comes time to pay the bill again.
Yeah, that's what I was going to. So that's one thing is everybody's saying, like, get all of them. But do you find some states are just better for selling final expense over the phone than others? Or is it just the people? Like, you don't like our South Carolinians and all that stuff, do you?
What?
You don't like South Carolinians over here on the East Coast, do you? You're going to let that one go. I'm kidding.
Oh, I don't know. No, I don't notice a difference. And I think if you're going to make, one thing you don't want to do is decide a state's bad because you had a bad experience with a couple sales. That's a small number of data points. You don't know.
Sure.
I'm in Colorado, for example. That state can be, I don't know. I don't get all excited when I see lead come in from Colorado, but I do make sales there. So I don't even pay attention to that. The reason that I'm dropping states is not because I think they're not final expense buyers. It's just they don't get any leads. So, and I let the Facebook machine do its thing there.
Right.
So, like, I'm licensed in Alaska. I'm not keeping that one. I don't get any leads there.
Right.
How about Hawaii? I was told recently by people who are trying to get agents to do some telesales that Hawaii is an amazing telesales state. Do you run leads in Hawaii?
I don't. Maybe I should.
I don't know. I don't know how accurate they were. I'm not sure how much I trust the people that were telling us that, but they were saying that was one of their top states. Was like for telesales specifically, was Hawaii was a big state for them. So
okay,
who knows? Maybe it's great.
Could be.
I'm also told it's extremely expensive to be licensed in Hawaii, though. So
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no clue. One thing I wanted to ask you, and you probably know your metrics very well. You seem to know most of your metrics very well. What's your closing ratio on your leads? That, like you said, you're getting 20 leads a day. Are you running it like 15, 20%, or is it? Nick and I were kind of told 7 to 10%.
Yeah, if you're at 5%, you're happy, and anything above 5 is just gravy.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
And the guys that are really good on the phone, they might be near 10%, but if they're above 10% consistently, I don't believe it.
How much of the stuff that you get is GI? Do you find
it seems to be a little bit more? Yeah. It's definitely more GI.
Like 30%.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No. I haven't run that. I don't run those numbers. I don't know.
Sure.
But it is more than face to face. But if you have a big selection of carriers, you shouldn't have that much GI. Definitely, but sick people will pick up the phone more often than healthy people.
No, yeah. I mean, that was the same thing that I found when I was running telemarketed leads. You get a lot more people answering the phone and saying yes to a telemarketed lead. So it makes sense that it would work the same way for the sales.
Yeah. And also, I'm not, you do have a few more options face to face than I do for some underwriting conditions where I just have to go, hey, GI, sorry.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I mean, there's some carriers Oxford just refuses. You cannot do a final expense sale with Oxford, and they're useful. They do stuff. So.
Hey, Oxford, they're great.
Hi, open up telesales, Oxford.
Please.
Your platform works for it. You've already got a whole system that would. So whatever.
I know.
It's crazy to me that they won't do telesales because they're so set up for it. But whatever.
They're a funny company, Oxford. They could be such a great company, but whatever. That's their business.
They're the company they want to be. Maybe they'll change.
Companies have their niches and they stick to them.
So are we allowed to talk about companies on this show or no?
If you would like to, yes, we can always bleep stuff if we feel like it gets. We have an editor. We can have them bleep stuff out or cut stuff out if it turns out to not
I'm
be.
Stamp Ryan. Get ready. I'm kidding.
No. I was just going to say, for anyone watching this, whether you're face-to-face or not, and I don't know, you might want to bleep this out. Maybe I shouldn't say it. Never mind.
We as long as it's positive, we try not to say anything negative about the carriers because we do know some carriers watch, but like I don't mind saying positive things.
Okay. No.
No.
Forget about it. Never mind.
Yeah.
We'll come back to it after we stop recording. People will want to know, but
I'm trying to keep it as real as possible, like just straight, no marketing talk, just what it's really like.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
It's literally like I think one thing that people have to realize, and I know we've talked about it before, Nick, but the mentality that you have to have on the phone is way different, like in face-to-face. Because like in face-to-face, like it's harder for someone to tell me no. I just have a better opportunity. And if someone doesn't like what you're talking about on the phone, it's just like click and that's done.
Oh man.
And you have to like that for me, I would get furious. I would be furious with that.
Yeah. And also face-to-face, you have the help of some visual aids. Like you might have like a little
flip chart book or
something to help them understand, right?
Yeah. Like, how do you get past that? Do you like meditate?
No, you kind of do have to put yourself in the same mindset. Like when you're face to face, you kind of take a few breaths and pump yourself up a little bit before you go walk up to the door, right?
Right.
To be professional and control, you're the most important guy in the room. And on the phone, I do have to. The first dial of the day is always the most difficult one, and you kind of have to meditate for a minute or two and think about what you're going to say and then go into it. Definitely on the phone, and maybe this is true face to face, but saying it seems to be amplified when you have those pauses or anything like that. And I try my best to eliminate that kind of stuff. So tone is very important. And that's actually really, the first part of my telesales journey was figuring out how to get good leads. And then my goal this year is figuring out how to make a better presentation over the phone, right? Sort of work your way down the funnel, as they say.
Yeah.
But
and that's a big thing for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people don't. I know every time I listen back to myself recorded, I am horrified by how often I go, and it's it's a rough thing, and it's vocal tics and stuff that we all have, and they're tricky to train yourself out of. And you're right, they come across way more powerfully when you're on the phone. At least it seems to, because I know when I listen to recordings of myself face to face, they jump out at me. And I don't think anybody really cares, because when you're in the flow of a face to face conversation, it just kind of becomes background noise. But when all you have is the audio, it just
right. This is the one thing. If you're going to have a lot of people watch this, believe it or not, Bearcat. What's the one tip that you could give people that are just transitioning into telesales on the independent side? Like, what's one thing, if they could just focus on that would help them transition?
Have a bigger war chest when you start. Okay. That's the number one. If you're stressed out on the phone, it's not going to be good. And if you're about to run out of money, you're going to be stressed out. Because when you're face to face, if you get matched up with a good IMO, all you have to do is send them the check, and they give you a system that has been baked and set and works, right? So you just have to put in the work over the phone. And the people that I know that are doing it over the phone, a lot of these people have never sold final expense before. And so you kind of have two strikes against you. The first is you don't have any experience with the market. And the second is you do need the process and the leads and those scripts that you use. It's a little bit more dynamic. So it's good, but you need a little bit more of a war chest. That's my number one tip.
Okay.
I'm not going to try and as far as other tips.
Give us some, please.
Oh no, just be prepared to work. I don't claim to be really good at sales. I don't really give sales advice. Uh, but the other thing that I see people failing, because I see what they do, is they don't make the dials, and it just blows my mind that they'll spend $4,000 on leads and call a lead once, and they won't even call it for 3 days until it came in. It takes them 3 days to make the first dial, and I don't
Right.
really, I don't
Yeah.
understand that. But people try to do it, and obviously that's not a recipe for success. So my number one tip: be prepared to work every day, and be tough, man. People are gonna tell you no. It's water under the bridge.
It's not gonna happen overnight, right?
Yeah.
You might have a little bit of success up front, but it's just like face-to-face sales. Everybody might make a couple sales their first day, but then like day 2 you strike out, right? And
Yep.
you're like, well, crap. And then day 3 you might strike out again. You're like, I'm done with this. And that's where I see like most people that are trying to transition into telesales give up is on like day 2 or 3 because they didn't make that first, like they're not making a sale every day like they're used to.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, and be honest with yourself too. Like, are you really a pick up the phone type of person? If you're doing face to face, do you have someone set your appointments for you? Would you like to have someone set the appointments for you? Maybe telesales isn't the right thing for you.
Yeah, it's crazy to me people who will never even set their own appointments, who end up going to work in telesales, because it's like the first thing that made me feel comfortable about calling people on the phone to start doing this during the whole coronavirus shutdown is the fact that I am good at setting appointments. That's a skill set I've got. And the start of all of my presentations when I call somebody is just identical to me setting an appointment. I just set an immediate appointment with them to talk to me right now.
Right.
But that's something that for me is calming. I've always liked setting appointments. So it's kind of, there's a lot of people out there who use appointment setters though, and are looking for appointment setters and wish they had appointment setters that are now being thrust into telesales full time, and that's a tough thing.
Yeah. I don't know how picking the IMO is always a really important decision an agent has to make, and
sure,
be careful.
Yeah,
very true. Well, Bearcat, you're awesome, dude. You were everything that Nick explained that you would be. And just a resource for people, man. That's the one thing. He's like, dude, this guy knows his stuff. He's well-spoken. He's like, he doesn't talk a whole lot. And you were like, I don't talk a whole lot. But when you say something, it's very powerful because you're trying to give out some serious advice to people that may be transitioning. So seriously, thank you so much for jumping on with us, man. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
I don't know if you're a subscriber of the show. If not, if you do it right now, you'll be lucky number 600.
Okay. So
he's like, maybe, maybe not.
No, I've seen a few. When I see something that looks interesting, I watch it.
Okay. Well, we want to pick your brain later on what you find interesting.
Okay.
Because we're trying to make sure that a lot of people watch a lot of our stuff. So if something's not interesting, you can be like, that's the worst video title I've ever seen in my life. And we want to know about that. But if you guys enjoyed, watching Bearcat give out some serious tips, and I know you did, ask some questions below, comment down below. Maybe he'll jump on YouTube and answer some comments. Give us a like on the video and subscribe. Guys, we went from 450 to like near 600 in 2 weeks. And we know that 64% of you are not subscribed. It would help us out so much. So please just do it. Seriously. Nick, always been awesome. Bearcat, you're awesome, dude. Thanks again, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.